Does anybody have any questions at this point? I'm just like,
I just want to say, I'm actually an adjunct professor in the art department here. And I'm just curious, I mean, I would love to get like more students involved in this. I mean, do you recruit from Brooklyn College, or have you done much of that?
I'm connected to SERVA here, so I do presentations for SERVA, and I'm on their like listserv for volunteer opportunities, but I haven't as so far. We've had one student volunteer who might hopefully stop by today. I don't know, she said she might, but yeah, I think she found us through SERVA, so I'm really open to getting students involved in whatever
definitely
way.
I'd like to figure out a way that I can disseminate through the art department, have professors bring this to the attention of their students. So.
That'd be cool.
How does an art therapist get, like, say, someone who's going to become an art therapist gets a job in your organization?
Get a job?
Yeah, and actually, really does therapy with the kids.
Because there are a fair number of art education people here too, and some people who definitely want to be art therapists.
Right. Well, I mentioned that there's the facilitator position. I mean, right now, as far as organizations and hiring, and it's like the economy is crazy, everybody's freezing on hiring, so that is definitely, I don't know, not the greatest avenue to get like into the organization. But we have facilitators for all of our groups, and there's about 20 weekly mentor, 15 packed. So we do hire probably 15 to 20 facilitators every year, and those are people who you have to have a master's level degree in art ed, art therapy, social work, something where you have experience working with groups, and typically you have experience leading art projects, but you can also have equivalent experience, so that means a variety of things. So I think people just sort of present their resume and talk to the program managers and see if if you have enough experience to meet that requirement, then it works out.
And I'm sure that for anybody who is interested in ultimately being an art therapist, just being a volunteer is a great thing to do.
Yeah. It is a great thing, but I would definitely recommend, there's a lot of, I think people might want, if you want experience seeing how groups are led, or maybe observing kids making art, and so I think that's an art ed or art therapy kind of, you just want to get experience working with young people and observing them. But if you want clinical experience, I would definitely recommend, volunteering in a hospital, volunteering in like a mental health center where they're doing clinical art therapy, because we're not doing the clinical stuff, but we're doing the fun art making part, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the other programs we have a program for teens, and we have a Saturday Arts Festival. And those are very different, so I can go into each of those. But really quickly, the teen program is a 3-phase. It gets teens from learning about visual arts, one area, visual arts or theater or music, dance is another one we're doing. So they're learning about one art area in a 10-week workshop. They do career development, and then they go into an arts-based internship in whatever area they're interested in.
How often do they go? Is it every day of the week?
They meet for the teen program on Mondays and Wednesdays from 3 to 5 for 10 weeks for the workshop, 6 weeks for career development, and then 6 weeks for an internship. But the internship is off-site, like at a theater company or at an art gallery or museum, or wherever it's appropriate. But the idea is to get students the students we're working with this session, at least from January till May, are in a GED program downtown and midtown, and I don't know if there's a lot of inroads to get an art career once you've gone. I think they're being pushed to go into things like direct care for the elderly and for young people, or for a hospital. They're being pushed to do like mechanical or custodial work, so that you're being like directed into a certain limited career path, and so we're trying to give an alternative career path so you can get experience that'll really, like, you can put it on a resume, you can go from there and try to get a job that would kind of feed that. If you have a passion for doing art, we want to encourage you to be able to do it.
And the students in that program are people that have expressed particular interest in these particular
right.
art.
Yeah, there's like an application process that they do, and some workshops that they've been able to participate in to get their feet wet and see if it's something they want to do. So I think for that program we found a couple volunteers, but there's the career part, like if you're good at resumes or interviews, or you just want to work with teens in some capacity, we need people to work one-on-one with teens to help them refine their resume or their cover letter, or do like what was I just saying? Like talk about how do you get set up for an interview, what do you wear, what do you do, like all of that stuff.
Can you start volunteering as soon as you hand in the application, or do you have to wait for like a certain semester or when the program starts?
That's a good question. So all the programs have, I guess, different launch dates. So most things start in September or in January at the beginning of the semesters. So I guess there is always that, like, you're going with the program launch date, so it's either the early fall or the winter. And the application, exactly, like once you have an application in, I contact you. Depending on what you want to do, you might have to come in for an interview. So you meet with me or another staff member, and then there's training following that if you're going to be like a mentor or a coach, or a mentor in the teen program.
So if I sent an application, I could potentially start in January?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could. And the program I didn't really talk about, but it's also, I mean, it's it's like a one-off kind of event where kids come in for a large-scale arts festival. It's 75 kids, 75 volunteers. We hold them in big community spaces, typically in Manhattan. I don't think we have any in Brooklyn so far yet, but some of them are in the East Village and the Lower East Side, so they're kind of accessible if you live in Brooklyn. So those are these huge events where we can really the great thing about those events is we can access a group of kids that's usually moving around. So the kids that we work with in our weekly mentor program go to a specific school, or they live at a specific shelter, and they're there every week, and we can meet with them every week. But in this program, we call the Department of Homeless Services, we have a contact there, and that person works with us to organize usually like 2 or 3 shelters who can bring kids to an event. So it'll be like 30 kids from, let's say, like the Go Project is a nonprofit we just worked with really recently, and they help kids who are like reading significantly below their grade level. So we brought 30 of their kids, and we brought about 45 of the kids from DHS. So it's really like a population that usually doesn't get to have access to these programs because they're like in and out of the shelter system, but because it's just one day, they can get bused to the site and they can have like a really enjoyable, fun day and be able to access that, which is, they're kind of like an invisible population. That's what they're called, because it's just a transition. They're always in transition, and I think that it's a day where if you can't commit to the mentoring program, or you're not sure if you can make it to something that's meeting regularly, that's really great because it's 10 to 3. You buddy with one kid, as I said, and you work on, there's like 4 or 5 art projects laid out, and you can sort of tour the art projects as the kid, your child that you're working with will sort of set the pace. If they are really focused and they want to work on one project, that's fine. If they're a little attention crazy and they want to like do all 5, that's wonderful as well. So it kind of fits to their needs. There's free lunch, and then there's a performance. So a recent day that we've been doing is the Road Trip Adventure Day. So there's projects that sort of take them around the U.S. and visit different areas of the U.S. Like they'll make cowboy hats, or they'll make, what was one of them? Like Maine lighthouses, or they made some clay figures of like sea animals. So they went to different areas around and traveled around the U.S. basically. Then they had hula dancing as the interactive performance in the afternoon. So it was like tied it all together, and they went to Hawaii and did this dancing. So they're a lot of fun. It's only 5 hours, and you come in and you leave feeling like, oh, I've really done something in this short period of time. Because I've never seen a kid leave those days and be like, oh, I hated that. Like, it really doesn't happen.